Hey guys, we are pleased to say that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation charity. And now, a message from one of our supporters.
Hi, I really appreciate the work that you've been doing for the Sophie Foundation. I do actually remember Sophie from back in the day, you know, when we were wandering around Rock World. I've never spoke to her, but I do remember her face in the club. But that place was like, it was just a little community for everyone, you know, like people that didn't feel belong anywhere, you know, like they belong anywhere else. It was really heartbreaking to hear what had happened to her. But I think the work that has been done since that event, that awful event, has been amazing to get the awareness out there, you know, and trying to make positive change. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
To learn more about this wonderful charity, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
Hey Jamie, do you like being cozy?
I do.
And do you like staying cozy?
I like that even more.
Then just heading over to www.staycozyclothing.com,
where you can find hoodies, tees, sweaters, and much more, with a new fall line out now.
And just enter the Chronicles as one word at checkout to receive 10% off your order.
And make sure you follow them on the Instagram at Stay Cozy Clothing to keep up to date with all the new designs.
Remember, guys, that's the Chronicles as one word at checkout to receive 10% off your order.
Hello.
Hey, look who it is.
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
It's a pleasure to meet you too. You're in some sort of void, Diana. Are you okay? There's just white behind you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. No,
yes, absolutely.
I was just being stupid. Sorry. I do apologise.
It's a blur background.
Yeah, so I didn't know you could do this. We got told that apparently you can. So obviously we have these things anyway. But
I like that.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I wasn't fishing.
Lovely.
But yeah, so I just, because obviously it's just completely white behind you, I just made a joke about a void, but it's okay. It's late, you know, I'm an idiot anyway, so it's going to be But no, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Not at all. So obviously we really appreciate you checking out, obviously Andy's interview that we did as well. So, and obviously we spoke to Lisa as well previously. Just going to work our way through the whole team.
I was going to say we're going to work through the whole friend group.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically how this works is me and Jamie is going to absolutely hammer you with questions.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Jamie.
I was going to say, I like to do a little intro first to introduce you to everyone. And then, as Tom said, we'll hammer you with questions. Right, let's go. Hello, everyone. Today we are welcoming another very special guest. Today's guest is one unlike anyone else we have ever spoken to. Today's guest is not only a good friend with former guest of ours, Andy Cheng. She has made a name for herself by teaching actors how to design their speech and works very closely alongside the legend, Jackie Chan. Working on movies like Rush Hour, Kung Fu Panda and The Karate Kid, she's also the only person we've ever spoke to who is brave enough to ask Tony Leung if he wants a dance. Today, we are welcoming you to the Chronicles of Diana Weng.
Thank you.
So that's it. Sorry, can we go back to the dance? What was that all about?
You mean who I asked to dance?
Yeah. What do you mean?
I've asked many people to dance, but one of the people I asked to dance was the actor Tony Leung from the movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
I knew the name, and I was like, why is it brave?
So I was 19 years old. I was in Taiwan for an educational program. And afterwards, a bunch of us went to Hong Kong to get to know the island.
Yeah.
My girlfriend is a big fan of Tony Leung, and he was really famous. This is like 40 years ago, almost, or 35 years ago. He was already very famous then. I didn't really know much about him other than my girlfriend loved him. So that morning I bought a poster of him, and I was still holding on to the poster when we went to this nightclub. It was the Canton nightclub in Hong Kong, a very famous place where celebrities went to, but we didn't know that. We had just heard it was a popular place to go. So I see this guy, and I'm thinking, that's the same guy in my poster. So I opened up my poster to make sure it was him, and it was. So I went up to him and I said, do you want to dance? And he said he was drunk, and so he didn't want to dance, but he was willing to take pictures and give us autographs.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and
That's
so now
amazing.
the world gets to know his work through Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
What a movie, by the way. What an unbelievable movie that is. I remember being in the cinema watching it, and I was literally sat on the edge of my chair. My girlfriend was sat next to me. I was just on the, I didn't know I was doing it, but I was literally just like on the edge of my chair, just gawping at the screen. She's like, are you all right? Like, yeah, yeah, what am I doing? Almost like levitating almost.
He's really charismatic.
Absolutely.
I can imagine.
Absolutely. What a great story. I love that. That's a great way to start the show. I love this.
I know. I just love the fact that you're going to go down as the one woman who like asked the Mandarin if he wants to dance. It's amazing.
I know. And he turned me down. The nerve.
Boo.
Yeah.
Boo at you, Tony.
But anyway, we're obviously here to talk about you, Diana. So first and foremost, I want to know how your pandemic season was.
Well, my family have been pretty healthy throughout. We've been very lucky.
Excellent.
But we have had extended family and friends who've suffered, who've passed.
No.
Yes. So it's something that is serious, and some people still don't realize how dangerous it is. But hopefully with time, as more people get vaccinated, maybe we'll all be safer.
Fingers crossed. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yes, thank you.
That is horrific. Did you, obviously while everyone was locked away, did you teach yourself anything new? Did you learn any new skills at all?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes. My children all studied Kung Fu, and
nice.
I never learned it. So I thought it was time I learned. So my youngest daughter, who's 10, taught me. She taught me how
That's
to use a
amazing.
nunchuck and the bamboo staff. And she was learning violin, so I decided to try to learn with her. It is not easy.
No, I'm not surprised, but that's amazing.
Well, it's not amazing because I'm not good. Now, if I was great, that's another story.
Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. I bet you're incredible.
It is hard. It is hard. Very difficult.
I mean, who else can turn around and say, "Oh, what did I do in lockdown? Oh, I got a 10-year-old to teach me how to do kung fu." That's amazing.
Well, as you know, I have worked with Jackie Chan for 20 years, right? And I was his dialogue coach from Rush Hour to The Foreigner. And I've been surrounded by these incredible martial artists from all over the world. But it wasn't until I saw my children try to learn that I realized how hard it is. So each of these people that I've worked with have such an incredible background, but they must have really suffered in order to hone their craft.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, Diana, can you take us back to your younger formative years? What was your original career plan when you were growing up? What was it you wanted to be?
In college, I was an English literature major, so I thought I would become a writer. But then I took a few acting classes and I became hooked. And so after I graduated from college, I got involved in theater. I got myself an agent and started to audition for work. My first big film was The Joy Luck Club. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's based on a very famous novel written by Amy Tan about her family. It was like the biggest project I've ever been cast in. It allowed me to get into the union, the actors union. And
Wow.
And unfortunately, I'm not in the film because when I showed up on the set, there was another actor dressed just like me, and it turned out that we had both been cast for the same role.
Oh, what?
And the director couldn't decide between us, and I was the one who was let go. They told me my part had been cut, and I could either go home or stay for lunch. So being an optimist, I stayed for lunch, made some friends, got some numbers. And the caterer was also an independent filmmaker. He gave me a part in his short film, which we shot months later. And there was a little boy in that film, and that little boy grew up to become the director of Crazy Rich Asians, John Chu.
That's nuts.
That's amazing.
I know, right?
Oh God.
And 1 year later, I got invited to the screening of the film. I thought maybe they felt sorry for me. So I watched the film, and at the end, I got the screen credit.
Yes.
Not the other actor. And I think it's because I was hired before she was.
That's amazing.
So to this day, I still get residuals for the film.
And you weren't even in the film?
Not in the film. Nope, just my name.
That's wonderful.
I suppose you never got an email or something from that other actress being like, what the hell, man?
Apparently, I was cast. So I'm a part of the film, even though I'm not in it. But I was hired to do the work.
That's amazing, to be fair. That's probably them going, yeah, we really messed up here. Let's sort Diana out.
Apparently, it's quite often. These things happen. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
So that is nuts. So before we discuss your work as like a dialect coach and dialogue coach, for those unaware, what exactly is a dialect coach?
So I didn't know what it was either. My agents and managers in LA, I had a whole team working for me to help me with my acting career. But my manager said, Jackie Chan has come to town to make the film Rush Hour, and he needed help with his English. So I went into the meeting. I didn't know who was going to be at the meeting, but there was Jackie Chan and his entire entourage. And so my interview consisted of the whole team of like 20 people.
Wow.
Yeah. And I figure they would want to hire me if my Chinese was really good. I speak both Mandarin and Cantonese, but not very good, either of them. Probably at a second grade, third grade level. I knew that Jackie was from Hong Kong, so I spoke to him in Cantonese. He said I sounded terrible. He said my Cantonese sounded like I was in pain whenever I spoke. So I didn't think I was going to get the job. I spoke Mandarin to him afterwards, and he said it was better, but it was still bad.
I mean, he's honest.
Yeah, yes, he's a very blunt man. He doesn't, he cuts to the chase. But I figure how hard could it be to teach somebody English? It couldn't be that hard, right? And I didn't think I would get the job anyways, but they ended up hiring me. And so I went and worked on the film for 4 months in Los Angeles. And being a dialogue coach means making sure Jackie knows what his lines are every single scene.
He was
wonderful. He needs to know what his co-stars are saying, which was really tricky because his co-star, as you know, is Chris Tucker, who improvises.
Oh, does he?
So that meant that Jackie's lines would change constantly, which totally drove him nuts. But we did what we could, and we just survived for 4 months. Every day was a struggle. It was not an easy job at all. And when I finished working with him, I was certain I would never see him again. He did not enjoy learning English, and it was a painful process to have to try to struggle through your lines in front of hundreds of people. But a few months later, he hired me for another job. And then before I knew it, 20 years had gone by, and I had worked with him on 15 or 16 films.
That's incredible.
I didn't realize that Jackie's English was like, he didn't really know English at all going into that film. I didn't realize that.
He can speak very conversationally with a basic dialogue in English. But when it comes to having to speak in a certain way, to speak in complete sentences, and then to use words he's never used before with some conviction, it takes practice. And we didn't have the luxury of time on the film. And so we really struggled through the film, scene after scene, take after take, trying to get the one word right, one sentence right.
Damn, that's insane.
Nuts.
Yeah, but the outtakes.
Yes, the outtakes give you a glimpse of what the whole film was like.
Yeah, because he literally, I think it's a scene where, isn't it, on the outtakes it goes, we must have curb bleu. And then Chris Tucker's like, you're right, it's for telling.
Yes, exactly. That's what it was like.
Damn, I didn't know it was that. I didn't know Chris Tucker obviously improvised as well. So that must have been so difficult.
You can only imagine. At first, after every take, I would try to explain to Jackie what he was saying. But finally, Jackie said, I don't care what he's saying. I don't care anymore. Because it just changed so much, right?
Wow, I'm surprised that shows commitment, because I would have walked off. If that was the case, you know what I mean? I would be like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore.
It was tough, let's just say. Very challenging for him.
I'm surprised you didn't turn around to Chris at one point and go, will you just please stick to the script? This is making my life so much harder, man.
Well, the thing is, Chris got funnier with every take. So it was enjoyable watching him, make the scenes better. So it was an important part of the process. Everything he said was not in the script. It just got better and better, no matter which directions, he went in. But it was very hard for Jackie, as you can imagine.
That's amazing. So for this dialogue coaching and whatnot, and the training, did you do any training on how to teach someone, or was this all just like you got the job and just went for it?
Exactly. I didn't even know such an opportunity existed at all. I had moved from San Francisco to LA, planning to continue with my acting career. I had a whole team ready to go. I had a commercial agent, I had a theatrical agent, I had a manager, but suddenly this opportunity came up. And so I went into the interview, but I didn't expect to get the job. I didn't think I was going to get it. And then when I got it, it became a different shift in my career, in a completely different direction. And after the film, because it was such a challenging experience, I really didn't think I would see him again. So I was really quite surprised to be working with him again and again and again on so many films. And then finally, I had to just accept that this is an interesting career. I didn't think it was going to happen to me, but I don't mind it. I don't mind supporting this famous actor on all these projects he's working on.
Would you not want to go back into acting yourself, though?
Of course, I had moments of, jealousy, but I'm actually in some of his films. And when I wasn't working with Jackie, I went back to acting. So I still have my agents, I still have my managers. I would just go back to doing acting work until he called me again. And like I said, I never knew when he was going to call.
So
sorry, Jamie. I was going to say, it was a case of literally, you could be doing anything and he'd go, right, I need you for this. You just have to literally leave straight away. You couldn't.
Let me see. Most of the time I had at least 2 or 3 weeks notice, but one time I had only 1 week's notice. Yeah. But most of the time there's a little bit of time to plan.
Wow. So have you worked in Eastern movies as well?
Yes. So I went to.
So I was going to say, how different is it to do like Western movies to Eastern movies? Like how different? What's the contrast?
Very, very different. So on an American project, or one that's shot in Europe, you can expect to be very well fed. You'll live in very comfortable environments.
Yeah.
Maybe a 5-star hotel.
Wow.
You might fly business class. On a production with Asia, you can expect to stay in a 1-star hotel. There might be mildew all over the walls. There isn't a whole lot of food on the set. Rarely are there snacks. You have to buy your own. There might be hot water for your tea. Lunches sometimes consist of a box. You don't know what's in it, so you open it, and then that's all you get. If you're lucky, you might get a second one, but most of the time you get 1 box, and that's it.
Wow.
And in Asia, the crew is smaller, so people have to do multiple jobs. And so they're always in a hurry, running from here to there. On a Western production, I tend to feel a little bit more safer. I can just relax and have fun. On a production in Asia, I have to kind of pay attention and look around at all times to make sure I'm safe and make sure no one runs into me with their equipment, because that kind of stuff happens a lot.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my days.
Wow.
Safety isn't always an issue.
So what was it you were doing in Eastern? Was that acting or was that also doing stuff with dialogue?
So in his film, The Medallion, which we shot in Ireland and Thailand, and where else? Ireland, Thailand, and Hong Kong. That film, I was working as Jackie's dialogue coach, but suddenly they needed me to be in the film too. So I became an undercover garbage lady.
Okay.
Amazing.
So if you watch the film, you'll see me pushing a cartload of garbage in front of a moving vehicle. And because a car could possibly hit me, they gave me a stunt double.
Oh, nice. That's incredible.
I was 7 months pregnant at the time.
Oh yeah, definitely a stunt double then.
I
Yeah,
was
definitely a
relieved to
stunt
get
double.
a stunt double. But I was bummed to see her get a little bit nudged by the car.
Really? You want to get hit by the car?
Nudged, yes, a little nudge.
So, what? Sorry, that in itchy face then. With the work with Jackie, like when you finished Rush Hour working with him, how long was it then until you got your second project with him?
2 months later, I got a phone call to go to Hong Kong. Yeah.
So it wasn't long then.
No. And then from after Rush Hour, I did this voice job with him on helping him dub his voice for old films. So we did that in Hong Kong on 2 films. And then after that film, that project, it was Shanghai Noon, which we shot in Canada.
Amazing. That's so cool.
And then it was one film after another.
So
for a period of like 20 years.
So when you say helping him overdub, was that doing an English dub on his old movies?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So Armor of God 2, which he shot a long time ago, was suddenly very popular, and they wanted him to redub the film in English.
Incredible.
Has his English got better over the years, or is he still just?
I think so.
He's not a fan.
I think so, because he surrounds himself with a team of international stunt performers, and so he's constantly listening and practicing with his team.
On the flip side of that, though, on the flip side of that, you spend your time with Jackie. Has your Cantonese got better?
He says it has.
Oh, there you go.
He always makes fun of my Chinese, but yes, he says it has. I always tell him that my Chinese is like his English.
So you train each other.
Yes, exactly.
So, what exactly is the process of being a dialogue coach, and what exactly do you have to do, like from the start, as soon as you find out you're hired on the job?
Well, on the first day of Rush Hour, I went to his trailer and we went over his lines, what he's going to say and what his co-stars are going to say. And after running his lines a few times, he told me I could go. But he was struggling with those lines. He couldn't get the words down, but he didn't seem to care. He just practiced a few times and he said he was done. Now, you can't make Jackie do anything he doesn't want to do. What can I do? I can say, no, we had to practice 100 more times. I can do that. I can force him to. So it took some time for me to try to convince him to practice a little bit more. And part of the trick was to stay close to him and watch what he's doing and find moments when he seems like he might be in a good mood. And then we'll hurry up and practice until that good mood shifts and then he's in a different mood. But yeah, it was not something that he enjoyed at all. And so I try to make it less painful though. I try to find ways to entertain him.
I'll give him credit.
Sometimes I would draw pictures on his script, on the lines, because I wrote out his lines on like cheat sheets, and I would put little faces or little expressions that he might have when he's saying those lines. Maybe a happy face if he's happy in the scene, maybe a sad face if he's feeling sad. And I would find different ways like that to entertain him.
I like that. That's a good point, because obviously it's not just the words he's got to learn. It's the context of the words as well. Yes.
And so with the Chinese words, sometimes it sounded like English words. So for example, 我爱你, I love you. 我爱你. Knee, sounds like your knee, right? So I may draw like a picture of a knee and then remind him. But of course, the other way around. So from English to Chinese. Yeah. So I would find Chinese words and write them near the English words so they sounded similar. That would give him some idea. And that helped out a little bit.
That's really clever. So when you're learning how to do this, obviously, as you said, you've had no training. Is it like over the years you've learned how Jackie learns, if that makes it? Am I explaining that right?
Yes. Over the years, I learned more about him because at first I knew he was famous. I had maybe seen a few of his films. I really didn't know who this man was. And so I bought like 17 books to understand who he is. And that really helped give me an idea of his background. And then that gave me some ideas on how to work with him.
It must be so much fun to travel the world.
It's an incredible experience because you get to meet people from different cultures. We learn different languages while we're there because we're living there for a couple of months. And we get to know so many people on the set, and many of them welcome us and bring us to their homes. It's a wonderful experience. And because I speak English and Chinese, often I am a translator too. So I end up becoming the tour guide.
Yeah,
I have to tell them where we should go, what kind of foods we should try, and I'll do all the ordering on the menus because they don't know. Him and his team. Many of them have never seen these foods before and never tried them before.
So your work never stops for you, Dan, does it? It never ends.
No, and Jackie is very good about making everybody feel like they're part of a family, and so then he would have jackets designed so we all look like each other. So we look like a team. Yes. Yeah, even though I'm not a stunt member, I'm wearing a stunt jacket, I'm wearing a stunt hat. We are part of his family. And that's what we call him in Chinese, his big brother. So we all really feel like we're a family. We eat together after a film. We eat together for breakfast, or we'll get together and eat afterwards after a long day of shooting.
That is beautiful. I love that.
Absolutely, that's amazing. That's something I noticed with Andy, though. As I was saying, like I watched yesterday the new Marvel documentary that's on Disney Plus about Shang-Chi, and I can't remember the exact word now, but the director says, like, how do you know all this? And he's basically just like, Jackie Chan, like the Jackie Chan family. That's who we are. And it's like you could tell there's that like you say, it's that family, that big team is one big family.
Yes. Jackie is a very generous person. Not only does he take us out for meals, but he's always giving out presents. He has things made for us with our names on our jacket sleeves, with a little message from him. He's like a big brother. And that's what he's known as in Asia, big brother. Everyone calls him that because he provides. He makes sure everyone's working.
What's the best set you've been on? What was your favorite movie to work on?
Gosh, there's so many. And so many films for different reasons. But my last film with Jackie was shot in England. It was The Foreigner.
Yeah.
And I love working with the director. I've never worked with a more incredible person. I don't know whether you've seen the film yet.
Yes, I love it. Yes. It's a great movie.
Yeah. So when you work with Martin Campbell, who has shot 2 Bond films, you really feel like you are with the best of the best.
Yeah.
And one thing that Martin did that is so obvious, but so few directors do, is that he insists on having the actors rehearse. So we will rehearse scenes a few times before we shoot it. Most films don't have that luxury. We go on the set and we shoot. But the fact that he insists on these often closed rehearsals allow the actors to feel more comfortable bonding with the other actor and just experimenting without the prying eyes of the cast and crew. And it's brilliant. It's so obvious, but it's so brilliant. It brings out the best performance from the actors.
Yeah, I can imagine. But obviously, does Jackie still do his own stunts then still, or not?
Well,
am I allowed to ask that?
He does what he can do, which is quite a bit.
Yeah.
But there are stunt doubles. Yes.
Because obviously there's that scene in The Foreigner where the shop explodes.
Yes.
And he gets thrown into the car, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the forest scene as well. I absolutely love when he's getting hunted down by that guy. And Pierce Brosnan as well. Just what a movie. Jamie, have you seen The Foreigner?
I haven't actually. This is one of those weird situations you've seen a film and I haven't.
It was wonderful working with Pierce as well. Pierce and Martin, they had worked together on a Bond film, so they had that connection.
Yeah.
But what surprised me about Pierce was that he often liked to stay in character. He was really quite focused.
Really?
I was surprised because he's such an experienced actor. I didn't expect to see that. But I remember on the first day that we had to shoot a scene, I heard someone screaming at the top of his lungs, these obscenities. I'm like, who's doing that? It was Pierce. And to get him into the mood, he was yelling and screaming all these words. I was so surprised to see that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but he did a great job. When you watch a film, you'll see what a wonderful job Pierce did. And really so I think maybe staying in character for a period of time helped him.
As you were talking about the director there, I didn't really think about that. How closely do you have to work with the director?
Well, pretty close. Because sometimes Jackie doesn't understand what the director's saying. So I have to make sure that whatever the director's saying, it translates to Jackie's performance. The director might say, I need you to be more emotional. And then, so I would then have to help Jackie get there. And sometimes it's maybe giving him some ideas about what his character might be thinking or feeling to make him get there. And sometimes I have to just repeat those words to help him get there emotionally.
That's amazing. It's like I said, the more I think about it, the more layers there is to your job. Because when I was thinking as a dialogue coach, she teaches him the words in English. But as I think about it, like you say, there's the context of it, there's the emotion. If the director wants a change, you've then got to go, okay, then Jackie, let's go. Right, he wants this now instead. But how long before shooting do you get the script to prepare it? So how you've got to teach this to Jackie?
I normally get the script probably a week or a month, depending on how much time they tell me to work on the project. So I have plenty of time, but the problem is trying to get Jackie ready. That is the tricky part. Because I remember one time going to Jackie's trailer, and we're getting ready to shoot a scene, which he hasn't even looked at. And I walk into his trailer and it's full of people. There's like maybe, 10 people. And he tells me to sit in the corner. So I sit in the corner and I wait. And he's doing business with each person. And I'm the last person he gets to. And by the time he gets to me, they want us on the set. So he hasn't even looked at his dialogue. So now we're rushing to the set and he walks fast. So I have to run after him, screaming out his lines, trying to help him memorize until we get to the set. And of course, he's not going to memorize those lines. So we end up then having to do a take after take after take to get it right, which is why in the bloopers, you see so many variations of one sentence because he's not sure what he's saying.
I love that.
As we got to know each other better, then he was willing to work a little bit harder. And so sometimes I would have the luxury of preparing him a week before or even 2 weeks before. But it took time for me to get to know him and for him to trust me.
Yeah, I can imagine. But, he sings all his theme songs, doesn't he? To his movies.
In Chinese films, yes, he often does. But yes, I believe in The Foreigner, he also sings a song too.
It's incredible.
A Chinese song.
Really good.
But I'm not sure that you can hear it in the American version, but in China, you can hear it.
I went on YouTube and just watched a few of them and they're phenomenal. They're really good. His voice is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether you know his background, but he actually grew up in the Beijing Opera School. So Beijing Opera is a style of singing. So in Beijing Opera School, they learn martial arts, they learn how to sing, they learn how to act.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you Google Beijing Opera, you'll understand how he grew up. There are a few films out there like Painted Skins and Farewell My Concubine. And these films gives you an idea of his childhood. And when I've asked him about those films, he says that his childhood was even more brutal than depicted in those films. And it's pretty brutal in those films. So if you ever have a chance to watch those films, you'll get an idea of how Jackie grew up.
Wow. I'll try to hunt those down.
That's amazing. Is it still like that today? Because that sounds very traditional, but is it still like that today as far as you know?
It is, actually. It is. Because when we were filming the movie Karate Kid, we shot at a kung fu school. And in this school, there were hundreds of children. And these children lived there 7 days a week with no parents. Only the masters take care of the children. Yeah. So from morning to night, these children are practicing kung fu. And I saw a few kids, and one of them was only 3, and he was carrying his own laundry. He had just washed his own laundry. So it's a bit brutal, that kind of environment. But some parents, I think they think it's good for the child. They think it, or maybe they don't have a choice. Maybe they have to work in a different city and they have nowhere to leave their child. So they leave them in a school like that.
Wow.
Just about convinced my daughter to take her plate into the kitchen after dinner. She's got some... I need to step up my game.
Did you guys see the film, The Karate Kid?
Quite a while ago. It's been a while since I have seen it. A little while ago, though, yeah.
I apologize.
So there's a moment where you see all these kids practicing kung fu, and that is the school where we filmed at, where those little kids live there.
That's just nuts. So
and do 17 hours of kung fu.
17 hours.
Something like that. Yeah, morning to night.
Oh
wow! I'm just blown. Yeah. I'm so sorry. It's made me speechless. Like I don't know what to say. Like just, because obviously that's culture. That's the culture over there, though, isn't it? So
it is the culture. It is. It is.
It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I love it. I love learning about new things. Just I'd love to go to China one day. I really would love to experience it.
Oh, you should go. You really should go.
Same. I'd love to go as well.
Get on the list.
It's an eye-opening experience.
I can imagine.
Have you worked with other actors doing this, or do you just work with Jackie?
So in the film The Karate Kid, there were children in the film, and they didn't speak English, and they didn't know how to act. So I had to help them too. And I was told that Jackie's role wasn't that big, so could I help the children? Of course, I didn't mind. And so it was a great opportunity to work with kids, although it's a bit tricky because children, have their good days and bad days, and they're, they can be rather immature, right? And they have to work long hours too, and so we have some moments where it was a little bit tricky. I don't know if you saw the film, right? You both saw the film, yes?
Yeah.
So there's a scene that takes place in the park, and Jaden is fighting with the bully over a girl, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that. Yes?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, but when we're shooting that scene, the girl was a little bit of a handful, and she would sometimes scratch the bully, and he would show me the scratches on his hand, and why is she scratching me? Like, this is what happens when you work with kids. You have to deal with these kind of things. Like, no, you don't scratch. Keep your hands to yourself. But yeah, so I helped out those children in the film. For Chris Tucker, he had to learn Mandarin. So I've helped him with his Mandarin in rush hour.
Amazing.
And he also had to learn some Spanish. So I've helped him with his Spanish as well.
He speaks Spanish as well?
Poquito.
Oh, okay.
I learned a few years in high school.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. I mean,
it's required in the US. We have to learn a different language.
I struggle with English most of the time. So just people can speak more than one language. I always admire that.
Do you?
Well, especially living here in California, there are a lot of Spanish speakers.
Yeah, I suppose it's quite Latino, isn't it? There's quite a mixture in America, I think, isn't there? That's cool. I mean, we have quite a lot mixture here, quite diverse. I like it. I like that all different cultures all mixing in. It's nice.
Yeah.
So, but I'd like to get out of here and go and experience over there rather than over here. So,
Hopefully you will.
fingers crossed.
So when you've worked with these other actors, is it a similar process as the one you take with Jackie, or is it everyone has a different way of learning?
Yes, everyone is completely different. Chris Tucker, I don't know if you remember this, for Rush Hour, only had 2 sentences to learn in Mandarin, and he really struggled. Those 2 sentences, he really could not get the words out, which is why I made it to the bloopers, because Jackie watched him struggle with 2 sentences, and then he made fun of him. He says, you only have to say these 2 sentences, but I have to, speak English for the entire film.
Yeah.
So it was really funny when they used that in the blooper, because I think it gave the audience a chance to see how hard it was for Jackie. But yes, every actor is different. When we worked with Don Cheadle on Rush Hour 2, he had to learn to speak Cantonese. And I don't know if you remember Don Cheadle doing a fight scene with Jackie, but he had to do this whole scene. He had to fight and he had to speak Cantonese, which is very difficult. But Don is one of those actors who really works hard and does his homework. He was in the middle of making another film, but when he knew he had to do Rush Hour 2 and he had to do this scene in Cantonese, he wanted to meet with me and to practice the lines. So I brought along another coach to help me because I was too busy with Jackie. And so we met with Don, who then practiced those lines while he was working on another film, so that when we shot his scene for Rush Hour 2, he was perfect.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Fair play to the man, yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose things like that, where they've learned the lines, it's making sure they've got like the pronunciation right and all that, and the way they're saying it.
Yes. And even Jaden had to learn to speak Mandarin in Karate Kid. I don't know if you remember that scene where he goes to the love interest's father, and reads a letter accepting apology, and we're hoping the father would accept his apology so that he could be friends with the girl. And he also worked hard on his lines.
That's fantastic. I like the dedication to the cause. Do you, other than Jackie Chan, obviously, and other than the movies that he's been in, do you dialogue coach for anybody else at all that's not associated with Jackie Chan at all?
I have actor friends who sometimes call me up and they want me to help them say a line or two in Chinese, or maybe in Spanish or in English.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I have help friends that way.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. And
outside of the movie world, though, Diana, what do you like to do with yourself? What do you like to do?
I'm a mother of 3.
Wonderful.
So I'm very busy with my children. Each of my children have come to set with me to work on the films.
Really?
Yes. So when I was working on Medallion, I was pregnant, right?
Yeah.
And when I was working on Around the World in 80 Days in Thailand, I was pregnant. I went back to the US, gave birth, and then went to Germany to finish a film with my 1-month-old.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah.
Talk about Don Cheadle's dedication. There's some dedication right there.
For sure. Pumping your milk on the set with 200 extras is no fun, but it had to be done.
Kids gotta eat.
Yes. And I gave the milk to an assistant to the director, who brought it to a driver, who brought it to a different location, and then gave it to my husband, who fed the baby.
Wow.
But yeah. And when I worked on Rush Hour 3, we were in Paris for 1 month and Los Angeles for 6 months. So I brought my 11th month-old baby, my second child. And so he was on a film set for 7 months.
That is amazing. That is
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, but what else are you going to do?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah.
I just get this
But
image
yeah,
of
taking care of my children requires a lot of work because they're all very busy doing different things. So I'm always driving them around. I'm their chauffeur.
I just get this image of you on set being like, Jackie, we need to, Chris Tucker, hold this baby.
Yes, they've all been really sweet. Having a baby on a film set definitely makes everyone happier, I think.
Oh, I can imagine.
But I know a lot of people in this industry, so I'm always helping people. I'm always connecting people. whether it's finding actors for a project, it's also involves looking for investors sometimes or producers.
That's amazing. I imagine you've met and like gained these connections with so many people over the years of all the different
Yes,
sets
you can
you've
only
been on.
imagine. Yes, on every film I work on, I must know at least 400 people. And part of the reason I have to get to know everybody is because Jackie cannot get to know everyone because he is focused on his work. But he's curious. He wants to know who that person is and who's that person and what does that person do. So my job working with him is always to know who's who. And I always have to have a call sheet with me and tell him, oh, that person's in the art department. Oh, you have a problem with the shoot, and let's bring it over to your dresser and talk to the costume designer. So it's important for me to know who everybody is. And it's great because years later, I'm still in touch with many people. And so whenever I film going to a different country to film, I can then connect them with people who can help them.
That's so cool. Now I just love the idea that you're Jackie's little gossip person. Like, go find out what's happening on set. Go on, get me some gossip.
Well, it can be entertaining, that's for sure.
So I received a question from a fan, Helen Barrett. She wants to know, as an old Chan fan, she remembers the bagel cam during the shooting of Tuxedo. She said it was such fun times and a great opportunity for us mere mortals to interact with Jackie, although he did tend to sail past most of the time. Are there any funny tales from those days?
Yes. So yeah, that was really fun. They came up with this idea of having a little camera set up, and Jackie or any other actors could just interact with fans. But Jackie really enjoyed having that kind of connection. And it actually started on the film Shanghai Noon. On Shanghai Noon, the publicist said he and Owen should have a diary, and they should share with their fans online what they're doing every day on the film. Yeah. And it was one way to publicize the film, but also an opportunity for them to share their life. Jackie really enjoyed it. He really enjoyed sharing what he was doing every single day with his fans. So Owen did not like it so much. I think he thought about it, but totally was not into it. So only Jackie did it. But Jackie liked it so much. We did that for years. For years. On every film, he decided that he wanted to have a diary and share that with the fans. So for Tuxedo, it was, having the camera was just an extension of that. Sharing a piece of his life that day, that moment with his fans. So I helped Jackie write his blog for years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sometimes as myself, sometimes as him. Sometimes he's just too exhausted to tell me, to dictate to me. So then I'll just watch what he's doing and then write from his perspective.
That is so cool.
That's really cool.
She also wanted to say one more thing to you as well, which was just a side note. We can tell she's been working well on him. His Changlish is getting way better. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Is that Changlish?
Changlish.
I like that. But like I said, when we went into this, talking to you, like we knew you helped him with his dialogue, but we're sort of realizing you're so much more to Jackie now. Like the amount of things you do for him, it's quite amazing. I could see how you're all like this little family.
And it's not just me, it's everybody in his team. Like there's no boundary in his team. We move as a unit. And at first I wasn't quite used to this kind of world, because I'm from America and we're used to you do your job and you do it well, and that's it. You don't do anybody else's job. But Jackie, coming from Asia, have a different mentality, is we work together to get this done, no matter what it takes. So I found myself doing many different things, including being his bodyguard.
Huh?
I don't have any martial arts training at all. I watch these people work and they're incredible, but I can't do a single thing other than what my high school teacher taught me in self-defense class. But when we were filming The Karate Kid, we were on a very busy set and there were hundreds of people in China. There was this man who started walking towards Jackie and his eyes were just like focused on Jackie's eyes. And Jackie was just sitting there and I was next to him running lines and his assistant was next to him. But we never know when someone comes up to Jackie who they are. They could be an old friend. They could be, a colleague from a project, whatever. We don't know. So we watch this man come close to Jackie, but we're not sure what he's about to do. And he puts his two hands on Jackie's arms and just stares into his eyes. And Jackie does nothing. So I realized that we had to do something.
Yeah,
so I grabbed one arm, his assistant grabbed another arm, and we dragged him off the set. We had to do what needed to be done. But I was like, my God, what if he punched us? I'm not sure we would know what to do if he did that.
Did you ever find out who he was?
He was just a crazed fan who got on the set.
Oh my days.
And he looked at him like he was in love with him. Just, locked eyes and just was mesmerized.
Oh my.
And afterwards, Jackie said, I probably could have done this and that and that.
Yeah.
And, but he didn't do any of that. He just sat there very quietly, letting this man stare at him.
Wow.
That's a little bit creepy.
I'm pleased you were okay as well. Good work. Great work.
Thank you.
Yes. But wow. Does that happen quite a fair bit at all or not?
I've worked on many films, and most of the time his stunt team surrounds him, and so they make sure he's safe. And I don't have to really even pay attention. But obviously, as time went by, his team isn't always there. So I realized that when I'm next to Jackie, I also have another role to play, which is to keep him safe. And fortunately, no one ever tried anything else.
Good.
That was the one time that I had to deal with that.
Well, your kids are teaching you now anyway, Diana, so you know a thing or two now.
I was going to say, next time you'll be sorted.
Yes. Well, he's trying to teach me, but really it's not easy. If you've never learned these moves, it feels strange to even try to do a punch or a block or anything like that.
Their skills are insane.
Absolutely. So are you trying to tell me that a 10-year-old taught you Kung Fu better than Jackie Chan did?
My daughter studied it for 6 years.
Really?
So she started when she was 4, right?
Wow.
And think about it. Yeah, if you start very early, it's like breathing, right?
Yeah.
It becomes very natural how to use a nunchuck, how to use a staff. And when you're doing it, hours throughout the years, you become quite good. So my 10-year-old's pretty good.
Amazing. We know what she's going to do when she grows up.
and more importantly, she has the patience to teach me, because you need patience to teach.
Yeah, my daughter's 4. I don't trust her with a nunchuck. No way.
You'll be surprised. With a good instructor, she will learn, and then she'll teach you.
There you go, Jay.
Yeah, I'm a little protector. I like
that. Exactly. You're a bodyguard.
Now, obviously, you've not only worked with Jackie on live action, you've also worked with him during animation on Kung Fu Panda. And I saw you worked on the Lego Ninjago movie. Is it the same process that it would be for a live action movie during animation, or is it a lot more relaxed? Because obviously you're just in a recording booth, aren't you?
Yeah, it's so much more relaxing. It's so much more comfortable. But at the same time, it's very intense work, because normally they want him to record for maybe an hour and take a break, and then do it for a few days. But Jackie is a very intense person, and so he doesn't want to take a break. He'll work 3 hours or 4 hours and not take a break. And so as a result, even though it's more comfortable because we're in a small room, it's warm, we have food and we have something to drink, but he's so intense, he wants to get it done. And so there may not be a bathroom break or a water break because he wants to get through it. So in that sense, it's a little bit more, I guess, more intense, when we work in that capacity. But I enjoy it because I'm so comfortable. My shoes are covered with mud and horse, what?
Yeah.
Which was often the case on Shanghai Noon. Working on a Western, it's beautiful but messy because you're going to be covered and splattered with mud all day long because we're working with horses.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a different experience. But the actual work itself, him speaking, him trying to get the words down, is still the same, right? He's still struggling with speaking in a certain way that he's not used to, using words that he's never heard of.
So with the way he works and how intense he is, do you have to then match that? Can you not go, if you're desperate for the bathroom, whatever, but he's like, no, I want to keep going, then I take it you have to carry on as well. Do you?
That is true most of the time, but when I'm pregnant, then I beg. I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. I need to take a break. But normally when I'm not pregnant, I don't insist upon it. I try to go through it as well. Yeah, but when you're pregnant, you really can't. You gotta go.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so when we've done it and I've been pregnant, I beg for more bathroom breaks.
Is there some things that to this day, like Jackie still struggles with, or has he managed to get the majority of it down now?
Well, even though he's surrounded by people who could, practice English with him, the reality is he really doesn't care to speak it just right or just perfectly until he's working on a film. So, after he speaks a certain way for the film, he goes right back to speaking the way he normally would. So although his vocabulary has, increased over the years, I still notice him making the same mistakes because, year round, no one feels the need to really push him to speak any other way until he's in front of the camera.
And I just wanted to also pass on the condolences for the loss of Brad Allen back in August. That must have been horrific,
devastating, and shocking because he's just too young, 48 years old.
Yeah,
too young. I first met him on Rush Hour and worked with him on so many films: Shanghai Noon, Shanghai Nights, Rush Hour 2, Rush Hour 3, Medallion, Tuxedo. He's just such a special man. He was very spiritual and very had high standards and really cared about morality. And whenever you were with him, you really felt like he was such an upstanding person. He really, he carried it in his body as well. Unlike a lot of people who just kind of relax when they're not filming, he's always at attention. He's always paying attention. He's his body language tells you so, and he's always alert. That's why I never really had to be, a bodyguard for Jackie, really, because whenever you have a whole stunt team, like Brad, they're taking care of Jackie, so I don't have to. But yeah, it's just a shock. It's a huge loss for all of us. But what a beautiful legacy. He created, the wonderful action of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and that is going to live on. And his beautiful daughters and wife will be able to enjoy his work for years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Andy spoke really highly of him as well. He sounded like the nicest guy.
Yes, there are very few people that you meet who leave such a strong impression, and Brad is definitely one of them. Because when you meet him, you just feel like he, just by being friends with him, you feel like he elevates you. He just, because he holds himself to such a high standard of moral behavior and, of excellence, you feel like you have to do the same. And although I don't do action, I watch him and I watch how he interacts with the team. And everybody respects him. Everybody does.
It's obviously a man that came from Australia, didn't he? And obviously
he did, yes, but he learned Chinese, he learned Cantonese, he learned Mandarin, he learned martial arts in China. And so when I met him, I was like, he looks white, but he really acts Chinese. He really does. He's like more Chinese than the Chinese.
That is incredible. Yes.
I love
fair
that.
Play, Brad. Fair play. Wonderful. What a wonderful human.
Mate. So when was the last time you worked with Jackie?
On The Foreigner in London.
What year was that now?
4 years ago, I think.
4 years ago.
Yeah. And Brad came to visit us.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because he was also filming. He was filming Kingsman 2, I believe.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that film.
So he came to visit us, and he brought his stunt team, and Jackie invited his stunt team and his the two stunt teams to get together to meet, and it was a wonderful gathering.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
So obviously we spoke earlier about your own acting career. Are you still trying to get roles in acting now?
These days, I'm just so busy with my family that I've kind of put a pause on it. I told my agents I just don't have time to go to auditions anymore. But a few friends have occasionally put me in their independent projects, which I've done. But most of the time, I'm just kind of focused on the kids. Maybe someday, but like I said, I'm in the position to help a lot of people, so I often do that. I counsel people, I connect people, I try to find various talents for different friends' projects.
I noticed that on social media. I do love your posts. I thoroughly enjoy them because obviously one of the team did the camera work for June, the new June movie. Is that correct?
Yes, it's wonderful.
What a film.
Dan Tran was part of Jackie's stunt team on The Foreigner. And so he is part of that action team for Dune. So exciting to see.
Yeah, it was great. I'm not a big sci-fi fan, but my days, that movie was unreal. It was really
beautifully
good.
done.
Beautifully done. Absolutely, yeah. Stunning.
Yeah.
But like Tom said with your social media, it takes us back again to that family thing. Because like he says, all your posts are, oh my God, congratulations to this person. Well done to this person. It's amazing to see. Like, it's the amount of praise between you.
As an actor, I know how hard it is for, my community to get work. And so when they finally do get work, I feel like I have to praise them. And because I have a huge network, whenever I praise somebody, I know that other friends are watching. And this will also give them the opportunity to be hired in the future. So I do it for two reasons. One, I'm really proud of my friends, but I'm also doing it to help promote them so other people can work with them. And I have had friends reach out to various people because I've promoted them.
Beautiful.
That's amazing. I love that.
Is there anything coming up, Dan? Is there anything coming up that you can talk about at all? So has Jackie got anything in the pipeline, or have you got anything in the pipeline coming up?
For me, I'm just, like I said, really busy with my kids, but I have lots of friends working on different projects. So I'm always trying to help somebody get something cast or get something funded. Recently, I have friends who've made a lot of money and they've decided they want to invest in independent filmmaking.
Oh, no way.
So I'm like, okay, I said, get ready because I have so many friends to connect you with. So these friends who expressed that to me, I'm now sending all my friends with various scripts to get them funded. But it's going to take a while, so we'll see. But yeah, it's exciting whenever I have friends who tell me they want to do that,
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I have to keep my eye out for those bad boys. I
love that. Like you were saying, that's I love it when people do anything they can to help their friends. Because, you only get one life. It'd be nice. It's a method. This is a little theme we have running through this whole show is just be nice to each other.
Right.
And if you can help your friends because they're your friends for a reason. And it's beautiful to see someone embodying that. So it really is an honor to talk to you about that. I absolutely love it.
Oh, but thank you.
But as we start wrapping up, I did want to, because you say you've been on so many different sets. Are there any particular ones, or for any particular reason, whether it be something that's happened, like the team you work with, that stand out, just those like cherished memories?
I have so many, but I have to say that working in England has always been a wonderful experience. The people are just so nice. And I tell this to everyone. I said, when I work on a film in England, I can expect everyone to ask how I'm doing. In America, it's like, oh, hi. But in England, it's, have you had a cup of tea? They care whether I had a cup of tea or not. And then they want to have a conversation. It's very, very different experience because on an Asian set, people are so busy. You probably don't have much time for chit-chatting because, everyone's doing multiple jobs, right? And you really get the feeling that it's their livelihood. It's live or die for the day. But in England, it felt like more of a relaxed environment. People just seem to, really take their time to enjoy the experience. However, working with Martin Campbell is almost like working on an Asian film set because the director demands everyone be as focused as he is. So when I first arrived on the set, I was surprised how quiet people were because there's often a lot of talking on the set. But no, Martin demands that everyone is focused on what he's doing. It seems a little bit strange that he would do that, because most films don't. But you almost felt like you have this school teacher, trying to make sure that we're all behaving. But later on, I realized it's because it's what helps him focus as a director. And ultimately, we're all there to make a great film. And it really did help, I think, when everyone is paying attention to what is happening on the set. That isn't always the case. In fact, most of the time, it's not the case. There's a lot of socializing that goes on. But on Martin's set, people are all watching him and looking at what he's doing and seeing how they could help and how they could fulfill the needs. But as a result, we got a great film. So I do think that kind of, standard can work, if everyone believes in the vision of the director.
But as you were saying about being in England and stuff, that everyone was always asking how you were. We obviously are a very polite nation, so we always have. But like we said, we're never in a rush either. It's always like, let's have a chat. Let's see how you're getting on. I'd like to know more about you. Let's have a cup of tea and we'll just enjoy this for 15, 20 minutes. That's nice. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, I found that people there were so civilized. I've seen really bad behavior on a film set.
Really?
I won't say which country,
okay.
But I have seen crew kick background performers. And it didn't happen once. It happened several times because they were in their way. They didn't bother to say, excuse me. They just simply kicked them. And what was shocking is that people who got kicked acted like they deserved it because they weren't paying attention. So I've seen that kind of behavior, which is just shocking. Happy to say I didn't see that ever working in England.
Good.
And the food is excellent.
Oh, stop it now.
And plenty of snacks, plenty of biscuits.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Is Martin your favourite director you've worked with? Because you seem to speak very highly of the man.
I just adore him. I do. When I arrived on the set, there seemed to be some people who were not so happy, and I wasn't sure why. But later on, I understood. It was because some people are not used to working with a director who demands everyone give their all,
Yeah.
Most directors focus on their actors, and that's it. But not Martin. He sees the whole set. He's watching everybody. And if you're chit-chatting, you'll see his finger do this. But the funny thing is, he does it kind of like in a tongue-in-cheek way. So he's actually kind of funny when he does it. But some people may take him, maybe some people are scared of him. But he's just, I think, a sweet man. And I really enjoyed that kind of respect for the craft. Because he really cared about what he was doing. And he wanted all of us to care too. And we should.
I absolutely agree. Because that's what gives you a great product then, isn't it? You get a great product out of it if you're all focused and, paying attention to what's going on.
I won't say who, but I've worked with directors who are paying attention more to the background girls than they are on the actors. And that's a terrible thing to see because we're all there to work on the film, but the director's eyeing the girls, seeing who he could ask out next.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Terrible. So when was the last time you spoke to Jackie, just out of interest? Have you spoke to him since you worked with him last?
I haven't spoken to him in 4 years, but I know I'm close to people around him. So I will send him messages throughout the years through his people, like Happy New Year or Merry Christmas or something like that. Or sometimes people reach out to me wanting Jackie to promote this product or taste this food, and I'll just send it over to his people to him.
Nice.
That's cool. Tom, have you got any more questions?
I've got one more, actually. Did you ever think, Diana, that things would turn out the way they have done? Do you ever think you'd be here today?
Not
doing what
at
you're doing?
all.
No?
That face says it all.
Well, first of all, my Chinese isn't very good, right? And so when I went into the interview, I was expecting to speak to a producer. I figured they probably wouldn't speak Chinese. They probably wouldn't know whether I was a good speaker or not. But when I saw that it was Jackie, I was shocked because I knew for sure he and his people would know how bad my Chinese was. So I didn't think I would get the job because of that reason. So I was quite surprised when I was hired. And then, of course, working on Rush Hour was such a painful experience, painful and challenging in every possible way, that I for sure didn't think I would see him again after that film. So for me to have worked with him for this period of 20 years on so many projects, it is quite a surprise. And of course, getting parts in his films, another wonderful surprise.
Incredible. Absolutely amazing.
I just had one more quick question. It's just come to mind as you're saying that then. Obviously, you were saying that Rush Hour was so painful for Jackie and learning how to... Was Rush Hour 2 and 3 easier for him coming off that first one, knowing how to deal with these people and work with Chris and whatnot?
Yes. Part of it is because he was, by Rush Hour 2, he kind of knew what to expect on an American film. He knew the people involved, and he knew how Chris worked, right? And he got to know me better. So it was a combination of many different things. And he also had more power. So I think that all made it a better experience. But learning English continued to be a struggle for him for many years. But I would say, it got better throughout. And certainly by the time we made The Foreigner, he saw how hard, how much work the director put into the film and how much passion he had for it. He saw Pierce working really hard on his character, even when we were filming. I think that influenced how much he wanted to give to the film too. And I think he worked harder to get his lines down and to practice his lines more. Most of the time he doesn't want to practice. And, as time progressed, and especially on that film, he worked really hard to do well.
That's amazing. I love that. Diana, this has been incredible. We've had so much fun talking to you and hearing these stories.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so honored to meet you both. And thank you for allowing me to share my stories.
No,
it's been amazing.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Have you got any plugs, any social medias, anything you want, any projects, anything you want people to check out who are listening to this?
Not right now. But hopefully I can share something in the future. Maybe one day I'll write about my experiences on the film set and turn it into a book or a movie.
I was going to say, it'd be an amazing book. Yes.
Genius idea.
My sister is a director, by the way. Her name is Jude Wang. So please check out her film, Finding Ohana.
I've heard that name. That sounds familiar.
The film came out some time ago. Jude does mostly television, but that was her first film.
Wow.
Shot in Hawaii.
There you go.
Incredible. Definitely got to watch that.
Beautiful. What a talented family. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's been an absolute honor.
Thank you so much, Dana. We
Likewise.
really appreciate it.
Take care. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Take
And
care.
you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Frank Guglielmelli, and I'm the narrator for some wonderful audio dramas from Syscast, like Marty and Mars, Bounty Hunters, and a great part in Val Toby, with much more to come. You can find these programs on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, or head over to our website, www.syscast.com. We are excited to announce that we are now affiliated with the Chronicles of Podcast with Tom and Jamie.